Alright, hello Photography 1 students. This tutorial is designed to show you how to manipulate your panorama photographs for the Little Planet assignment. And basically we are going to create what looks like tiny little planets out of the panoramics that we took for either your final exam for seniors, or if we are now towards the end of the year, underclassmen, this is an actual assignment. So looking through these are panoramas that I took earlier when we did our panorama assignment, and I've already transformed these, and I'm going to show you how to create these. So first, I'm going to show you how to recreate a panorama, because it's been a long time since we did that, and you're going to have to take new pictures for this. You can't use ones that you used before. So to do that, we need to go to Start, go to All Programs, and the first thing we need to use is Adobe Design Premium CS5, but we are using Adobe Bridge first. So when you click on Adobe Bridge, it brings up everything on the computer. It's laid out differently. You may remember this since we used this before, but I'm just going to go back to my computer, and you should have a slot for your home drive where you should have a folder made for this assignment. So when I double click on home drive, it's going to bring everything up in there. I need to find my photography class, and then I have a photo merge folder from earlier in the year. And I have a folder in here with my little planet pictures, but let me show you how to first recreate that panorama. So I'm going to use the school one for this example. So if I click on the first picture of my school and the last picture of the school, what I then need to do is go to Tools, Photoshop, and Photo Merge. So you need to have every picture that you've taken selected, and then go to Tools, Photoshop, and Photo Merge. But just as a reminder, when you are taking the panoramics, you should overlap your pictures. This is my very first picture here. I have the white car in here. My next picture still has that white car in here. Even my third picture still has the white car in there. So as I'm going through and taking each progressing shot, I'm overlapping the previous picture, and that is what's going to allow Photoshop to merge them together into a seamless long panorama. Alright, so again, Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge. It's going to open Photoshop for us, and when it brings up the Photo Merge options, I would just suggest you do Auto, and if Auto doesn't work, you can ask me and we can try one of the different layouts. But Auto is going to give you the most basic merging of your pictures. Click OK, and now we have to wait for Photoshop to do its work. It will bring every picture as a separate layer, and divide them up and merge them together into one picture. So when this is done, it'll bring it up on the screen. And just waiting. Okay, there it is. The next step is to crop out the unnecessary portions that make the edges of your photograph look rough. So there's two ways you can do that. A lot of you always select this tool, which is just your selection tool. This is the actual crop tool. So if you want to use the crop tool, you would just go ahead and make the selection and then click the check mark or hit enter, and it will automatically crop the picture for you. But seeing as how everybody uses this tool anyway, let me show you how to do that. So if you accidentally have this tool, you make a selection just like you did with the crop tool. And I kind of cut off the top of the building there, so I'm going to redo that selection. So when you make the selection, to crop out all the rest of the area, you go to Image and Crop, and then it'll make the crop for you. You can hit Control D on your keyboard to deselect, and then you have your picture. So now we need to save this picture. So go to File, Save As, change it to a JPEG, and you can name it Panorama or Little Planet, whatever you want to call it. I totally spelled that wrong. Panorama. And I'm saving it in my Little Planets folder. You can do maximum. And then what we need to do is we need to open up that picture. So I'm going to close this one. Just hit no. To File, Open, and open that picture that we just made. The reason we had to save it as JPEG is because of changing the canvas size to make it into a planet, and I'll explain that right now. So first thing we need to do is unlock this background layer. So down here there is a little lock. Just go ahead and double click on that lock, Click OK, and now your layer is unlocked, which means you can now manipulate it. So let's go ahead and start changing this into the planet. First thing we need to do is go to Image, and Image Rotation, and 180 degrees. So flipping it over, and basically what's going to happen is the left side and the right side are going to form together in the middle. So the reason we flipped it over is so the sky will be on the outside. So the next step is then to go to Filter, Distort, and Polar Coordinates. If you want to zoom out so you can see what it's going to look like, but that box is really small. So if you just click OK, it will round off the edges and turn into circles. But now it's a little compressed since we had it in panorama form. So what we need to do is extend the canvas size. So the next step is to go to Image, Canvas Size, and we are going to extend the height. So what we are going to do is change this drop-down menu from inches, pixels, whatever it might be on, and change it to %. We're going to make the height 300%. And then we need extra space on the top, or the bottom, I guess it doesn't really matter. So you need to click this middle top arrow, or the bottom middle arrow. So if I click on the bottom, it will make space on the top. If I click on the top, it'll make space on the bottom. Once you click OK, you're going to see all the extra space that we just made. And now we need to extend this picture so it looks more like a full circle. So what I'm going to do is click on my top arrow here, which is the Move tool. And then I'm going to use my shortcut to resize and click Control-T on my keyboard. Or you can go to Edit and Transform, Scale, and you can do the same thing. So when I click down here in the middle, I'm going to drag it all the way down to the bottom. When I let go, I either hit Enter or the check mark, and then I have my planet. Now, if you wanted the Smyrna High School to be on the top, then you can flip your image by going to Image Rotation and 180 degrees. So now you can actually read the words. One thing that you will notice, when the pictures on the edges, when they're combined in the middle here, if they are not exactly the same, you end up with this line that has, my blue sky here and then the whites of the clouds here. You'll also see it in the parking lot, and you can see that the parking lot didn't match up perfectly. There are ways that you can edit this in Photoshop. I'm not going to spend forever doing this because I don't want the tutorial to be too long, but let me show you how you can easily get rid of this line right here. Okay, so one way is to take the spot healing brush, which is this band-aid right here underneath the eyedropper, and if I take my brush and I click and hold and I drag over that line, what it's going to do is kind of match up pixels from this side and kind of blend it out. And that's because I had proximity match selected, so it's going to kind of even that line out. So I'm just going to go ahead and Control-Z just to show you the other way. So the other way is I can use the clone stamping tool, which with this brush what I do is hold down Alt, and I can select pixels from a certain area. So say I want to take the sky from right here around the building, and then if I let go of Alt and I come over here and click, you see that plus? That is the area that I am selecting my pixels from, and it kind of moves as I move my brush through. Now, right now I have my opacity at 70%, so if I lower it or I increase it, it will kind of change what happens with those pixels. So if I lower it, it's going to be not as stark of a adding in of the color. If I higher it, it will be a lot darker. So I'm going to actually make it a little bit lower so it kind of blends more softly into that white area of the sky on the other side. And you can always go ahead and click and hold Alt again to kind of take your pixels from another side. So now I accidentally got part of my roof in there, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control-Z, and I'm going to go back and maybe just kind of soften up that white area just a little bit. So this isn't perfect, but just to show you what you can do to eliminate that line. You can come in and do it right here too in the parking lot, but I'm just going to leave that alone. You get the idea of it. So if this is my final, I'm all done. I can go to File, Save As, I'm going to change this to a JPEG, and I can name this Little Planet number 1, 2. I have 3 examples. I can name this Little Planet 4, and I'll put this on as an example on Google Classroom. But you will have to repeat this process for however many times you need to make these pictures. Save them and submit them onto Google Classroom so I can grade them.